welcome to Sunny with a Chance of Chaos, a podcast that is equal parts optimistic and realistic. Join me as we discuss the ups and downs that everyday life brings. I'm Lindsay, and I'm so glad you're here. So, get a coffee, get comfy, and get ready for a little bit of life's chaos. Hey friends, welcome back to Sunny with a Chance of Chaos. I'm having so much fun and I'm learning so much doing this podcast. I genuinely hope you are too. Today we're going to learn how to rescue our own damn selves from all kinds of situations. With the spring in Ontario comes the thaw and the rain, and as it turns out, sometimes a wet basement. And I found myself faced with solving this soggy problem myself, so I did. And I was inspired to do an episode on saving yourself from any number of life's various calamities. I bought a house, my own house, about a year ago. It was kind of a big deal, as buying a house is for most people. Here's the background. I was renting a 2-bedroom house in a super cute neighborhood in my town with my 2 boys with me every other week. We loved our little place. We loved our neighbors and our neighborhood. We felt like we had found a soft place to land. Saturday afternoons were spent on the covered porch playing board games, watching thunderstorms, and evenings were spent in the park beside our house playing bocce ball in the field or building snowmen. We lived in that little place for about 4 years, and we loved every minute of it. It was not without its flaws, of course, and also we just loved it. Complicated story simplified. We had been renting this idyllic little place from a friend, and his own living situation changed quite suddenly, and he needed to move back into his house. It all happened super fast, and I only had 60 days to find us a new place to live. And at first I was feeling panicked and anxious. How was I going to afford a place? Was I going to end up in my parents' basement at the age of 42 with my kids in tow? How was I going to find a new, suitable, affordable place so quickly? I spiraled a little, and then I took a breath. And I realized this was the universe's push to give me the opportunity to buy my very own house for the very first time in my life. And no one was going to rescue me or buy me a house or put a roof over my head. I had to rescue myself. So, as mama bears do, I sprung into action to find the right den for me and my cubs. Terrible analogy. I'm sticking with it. Insert 2 weeks worth of intense manifesting and putting out positive messages into the universe, plus the more tangible elements of getting a mortgage broker and a real estate agent, and all of it together cumulatively. It worked. 10 days later, I found myself falling in love with a 100-year-old red brick home in the same cute neighborhood the boys and I loved so much that we had been renting in. So I bought it with all my own dollar bucks, in the words of Bluey, that adorable cartoon dog. The house was in great shape. Not much needed to be done structurally, but it was in need of a few updates, aesthetically speaking. The day I got the keys, I walked into the house for the first time with this intense glow in my chest and butterflies in my tummy, and I was feeling pride at my bravery and my ability to take such a huge financial and responsible leap all on my own. And then I looked around at all the things I wanted to change, and I realized I didn't know the first thing about changing a faucet or putting up wallpaper, and there wasn't anyone there who was going to do it for me. So, as any self-respecting single woman does, I cracked a beer, I opened YouTube, and I started learning. Over the course of the next few months, I became like a recluse. I barely left my house. The new love of my life was my new home, and also the kind and patient people at Home Depot. Thanks, guys. I tore down wallpaper. I replaced faucets. I learned how to change light fixtures. I refinished antique furniture. I hung up wallpaper. I replaced the deadbolts. I laid tile floor in the bathroom and painted every surface I could get my hands on. It was the biggest passion project I had ever taken on, and I couldn't get enough of it. I had support, don't get me wrong. I had neighbors lending me tools, my mom peeling wallpaper in the kitchen, friends running over with some emergency plumbing tape on a Friday night at 10 p.m. Thanks, Dee. Even some of the 7-year-old neighbor kids scraped 25-year-old wallpaper in the front entryway. It was a labor of love. And as it turned out, community. At the end of the day, no one was going to do these jobs for me unless I wanted to throw money at the problem, of course. But I had already thrown all my money at the house. So I took on these projects on my own because I knew deep down that I could. And when I found myself in over my head, I learned how to ask for help. I didn't ask anyone to save me or do it for me, but I learned how to say, can you give me some advice on how to drill into this brick? Or can you come over to make sure I don't electrocute myself while changing this fixture? I rescued my own damn self, but I invited a few other people to join me in the lifeboat. So what does it mean to rescue yourself, and why is it important? I know a lot of fierce women, men, and humans in general who have rescued themselves over the years, and it is a phenomenal and admirable thing to witness. To my mind, rescuing one's self means not sitting around and waiting for change to happen or for someone to do the work for you. It means seeing what needs to be done and doing it yourself, not depending on someone else to take the reins. If we wanted to layer a cliche onto the concept, it's kind of like taking life by the horns or being the architect of your own life. We can see all kinds of examples of this to various degrees in the lives of the people that we love. There's the friend who got herself out of an abusive marriage and in doing so, removed her kids from that abusive situation as well. There's the colleague who finally quit teaching high school and moved on to something she loved, teaching hot yoga classes at the gym. There's the friend who set boundaries with her overbearing parents and told them she wasn't going to be able to spend time with them if they were going to continue to trump her parenting of her own kids. There is a lot to be said about the role that boundaries play in our lives and in our personal rescue missions. Enough so that I think I'll leave it there and save my experiences and thoughts on boundaries for a whole other episode. But it is important to note that in my life, I have discovered that rescuing myself is made possible often by learning to set healthy boundaries. Another key component to rescuing one's damn self is confidence. Sometimes we find ourselves faced with a problem or a puzzle or a leaky basement, and we sit back and we look at it, and maybe we say, I can't do this. I don't know how. I've never done this before. I don't have the skills for this. Or maybe we say, but perhaps I could learn. I could ask my grandfather if he has that tool I need. I could watch a how-to video on YouTube. I could call a friend that had a leaky basement last spring for some advice. Something my dad always said to me growing up, which I think played a big role in me developing self-confidence to tackle new things and just be brave, was this: whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. My teenage self is rolling my eyes at him right now, but this quote speaks to the importance of mindset when we're trying something new or we need to be brave or assertive. If we see our situation as unsolvable or inescapable, I think there's no possible way I could ever do my taxes on my own, then guess what? You won't ever be able to rescue yourself. But if you allow yourself a glimmer of hope and optimism and say out loud, I wonder if I could do my taxes on my own. Start visualizing your life after the rescue. Start imagining what that wall will look like with that new wallpaper, or what life would be like if you were in a more fulfilling job you didn't hate, or a healthier relationship. You may find that that little crack of light or that small voice saying, you got this, it might be the impetus for change. Confidence is a big part of this. I need to address the oxymoron that I know I've created I see it glaring at us here. You need to rescue yourself, but you don't have to rescue yourself alone. I have always been fiercely, almost toxically independent. Asking for help is not something I'm good at doing. It involves needing people, which I am not good at, and taking up time and space in people's lives, which I am also not good at. So my struggle when I rescue myself is realizing the balance between someone doing it with you versus someone doing it for you. Asking for help involves vulnerability, and that's often paired with shame in the aftermath. In modern society, asking for help indicates weakness or a lack of competency or a lack of courage, when really asking for help is a sign of strength and bravery, and it reminds us that we have a lot of resources at our fingertips to help us help ourselves. Here's an example. One night in the new house, about a month after moving in, I decided to change out the faucet in the bathroom for a nice new modern one. I had already successfully done the one in the kitchen on my own with the help of the Teflon tape from Dee. So I thought, no big deal, I got this. Well, it proved tougher than I had imagined, and I could not get this one bolt loosened. I was laying on my back under the sink, drain water dripping on my face, knuckles bloody from scraping the underside of the sink, tears rolling into my ears and into my hair. I was a disaster. I was tired and I was alone, and I was also so friggin' determined to do it on my own. I didn't know what to do. So I called my friend Kay and I said, can you come here and bring a toolbox? A toolbox. That's all I said. She came right away and she brought me the most useless toolbox I've ever seen. It was full of mostly zip ties, but she also brought a hug and some Band-Aids. So she patched me up and we sat on the bathroom floor together, red wine in hand, leaning against the bathtub, staring at the sink, drying my tears and having a bit of a hysterical giggle about the situation. We had no sweet clue what to do next. Neither of us had the physical strength to loosen that bolt, and we finally agreed we needed to ask for more help. And so her brother came by, loosened the bolt, and left. It took 5 minutes. Kay and I finished the faucet and congratulated ourselves on not only asking for help, but also on persevering. And later on, I reflected that I was able to solve the problem and rescue myself, and asking for help was one of the ways I was able to do that. I didn't ask someone to solve the problem for me, but I was able to ask for support with the parts I was struggling with. For anyone listening who has their own kids or nieces or nephews or students, any young people in their lives over whom they have some influence, you're probably familiar with the term bulldozer parenting or snowplow parenting. This is defined as adult leadership style that seeks to remove all obstacles from a child's path so they don't experience pain or failure or discomfort. This parenting style at its extreme is very problematic. There are a lot of examples of ways in which grown-ups do not allow their kids to rescue themselves, which only serves to deny kids the opportunity to build resilience and problem solving as they get older. Here are some examples. Parents who do their kids' homework for them so that they're sure to get a good grade. Parents of adult children who actually go with their kids to job interviews or call the employer afterward to complain that their adult child was not the successful candidate. I'm not kidding. This is a real thing. We aren't doing our kids any favors by rescuing them, unless it's from actual physical harm, obviously. I have been guilty of this type of thing in my own parenting life. For example, for years in the kitchen with my kids, I would let them, quote unquote, help me with dinner or baking. But as soon as they didn't do it right and cracked a bunch of eggshell into the batter, I would take over and steal their opportunity to learn a new skill, and also likely make them feel pretty crummy about themselves in the meantime. I needed to learn to give my kids the skills they need to carry forward, rescue themselves, and engage them in the process so they could someday make cookies for themselves instead of waiting for someone to make the cookies for them. I have since adopted the mentality of this old parenting motto: prepare the child for the path, not the path for the child. It helps keep me focused on helping my kids build the independence skills and confidence and resiliency to rescue themselves rather than clearing the path for them. Rescuing yourself does not require self-pity or a victim card. In fact, there is no room for a victim card here. What it does require is courage, boundaries, vulnerability, confidence, and sometimes YouTube, and sometimes a good neighbor with lots of Band-Aids and a toolbox full of zip ties. When we pull the victim card, we've all done it or know someone who has, we are in essence refusing to own our part in our own story. I also recognize that there are systems of oppression that for generations have created societal situations for various populations that are hard, if not impossible, to get out from under. This is not the kind of victim card I'm talking about. I'm talking about that coworker who seems to always be at the center of a problem and can never take ownership for their part, or that teenager who doesn't see their role in the drama that's happening on Snapchat. Taylor Swift nailed it. It's me. Hi. I'm the problem. It's me. Even if you aren't the whole problem, it's super important to notice and name the part we play in our situations, and most importantly, feel empowered to create change in those situations. You might be the problem, like Taylor, but you also might want to consider learning how to get out of your own way and extricate yourself from the situation, job, relationship, conversation you find yourself in. Glennon Doyle stated in her book, Untamed, I will not stay, not ever again, in a room, a conversation, or a relationship, or an institution that requires me to abandon myself. And that right there kind of sums up the concept of rescuing your own damn self. And here we are again at the resource section. Some people have called it the bookshelf. Someone else called it Know Now. There's lots of ideas floating around. Keep them coming because the resource section is a little bit lame. I don't mind the library, but anyway, it's still up for negotiation. The book I found is called Save Yourself by Cameron Esposito. This memoir is described as having been written for that timid, fenced-in kid in all of us and the fearless, stand-up yearning to break free. Cameron wanted to be a priest and wound up a stand-up comedian. Her stories are sure to make you smile and make you reflect and give you that little boost you need. The podcast I want you to listen to is We Can Do Hard Things with Glennon Doyle. The episode is called How to Be the Boss of Yourself with guest Bozoma St. John. The video I found is by Lisa Nichols. She's a motivational speaker, beautiful speaker. She's got lots of stuff out there. This one's about 11 minutes long. It's called Learn to Be Your Own Rescue. Lastly, as always, I'd like to talk about gratitude as the antidote for chaos. I like to thank my friend Kay for coming to help me rescue myself from my own stubbornness and for bringing her toolbox and wine and for helping me mount a kayak on top of my car at 6:30 in the morning one day, for painting my kitchen with me on a Tuesday night, for always showing up with a smile whenever I need her. I'm so glad we met on the sidewalk all those years ago, and I'm so glad you're in my life. Thank you. Also, I have some exciting news. Sunny with a Chance of Chaos is now on Instagram. Find and follow us at Sunny with a Chance of Chaos _. There you can find the face behind the voice, links to new episodes, links to resources, pictures of my burnt muffins maybe, and I'm sure some other chaos. I also owe some gratitude to another friend named Kay who has offered to help me with the social media part of the podcast. As you know from episode 2, me and social media had a bad breakup a couple of years ago. And so as a result, I don't know a snap from a reel, from a story. Like, I don't know anything. So Kay is helping me out with all that stuff. And I'm so grateful. You can still send an email at sunnywithachanceofchaos@writeme.com, or you can direct message me on Instagram. And again, that handle is at sunnywithachanceofchaos_. When chaos hits, don't forget to look for some sunshine. See you next time. Thanks. Bye.